And that's the end of the first half. As the teams head to the locker room, the Spartans lead the Bulldogs by a score.
You guys stink.
Geez, Coach, we're only down a couple of points.
No, I mean you guys really smell. You need to hit the showers. And here, I got every one of you new bars of soap from the Sterling Soap Company. Each bar is artisan crafted using natural ingredients and essential oils. They also have shave soaps, colognes, beard balm, and a whole lot more. Now get in there.
But Coach, we have another half to play.
I don't care. I can't stand to be around you.
A few minutes later.
All right, bring it in tight. You guys are still playing terrible, but you're smelling great out there. Now listen, you're going to need to stock up for the rest of the season. We got a lot of tough games left. So go to sterlingsoap.com after the game. That's STIRLING soap.com. You got that?
Yes, Coach.
Great. Sterlingsoap.com on 3. 1, 2, 3. Sterlingsoap.com.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of Yesterday's Sports on the Sports History Network. Today, we're going to talk about a team that is often overlooked in NFL history, and that is the 1940s Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears franchise started in 1919 as the Decatur Staleys. The Staleys were renamed the Chicago Staleys in 1921. They posted an impressive 25-3-3 record in their first 3 seasons. The Staleys changed their name to the Bears in 1922 and enjoyed great success for the next 11 seasons, with only one losing season in 1929. After 10 seasons, team owner George Halas retired as both a player and a head coach. Ralph Jones then coached the team for the next 3 seasons, winning 24 games, losing 10, and tying 7. Halas returned as head coach in 1933, and the Bears won their very first NFL championship game, defeating the New York Giants 23-21. The Bears reached the championship game again in 1934 with a 13-0 record, but this time the Giants won 30-13. 3 years later, the Bears played in their third championship game, losing 28-21 to the Redskins. In their first 21 years of existence, the Bears experienced only one losing season and appeared in 3 of the 7 championship games, winning 1. But the league was about to find out that they were just getting started. The 1940 season started with a 41-10 win over the defending NFL champion Green Bay Packers. In the first quarter, George McAfee returned a kickoff 93 yards for a score. In the third quarter, Ray Nolting returned a kickoff 97 yards for a touchdown. Bob Swisher gained 106 yards receiving, while Ken Cavanaugh picked up 85 yards and scored 2 touchdowns. The Bears' defense forced 9 turnovers. In Week 2, the Bears' defense gave up 173 rushing yards and were upset by the Chicago Cardinals 21-7. The following week, the Bears ran for 193 yards against the Cleveland Rams. Despite 4 turnovers, the Bears won 21-14. In a game against the Lions in Week 4, the Bears' rushing attack netted 195 yards. Bill Asmansky scored a 34-yard touchdown in the first quarter, and that was all the points the Bears needed. as their defense held the Lions scoreless. The final score was Chicago 7, Detroit 0. In Week 5, the Bears gained 300 yards rushing, while allowing only 73. With the score tied at 7-7 in the fourth quarter, Joe Manacci ran for a 27-yard touchdown. Bob Schneider made up for a missed extra point by booting a 47-yard field goal later in the quarter to give Chicago a 16-7 victory over Brooklyn. The Giants shut down the Bears' running game in Week 6, so quarterback Sid Luckman took to the air, completing 9 of 14 passes for 171 yards with 2 touchdowns. Ray McLean, who caught 4 passes for 98 yards, was the receiver of those 2 touchdown passes from Luckman. The Bears' defense intercepted 5 passes, one of which was returned 21 yards for a touchdown by Harry Clark. Chicago offensive tackle, aptly named Lee Arto, kicked a 52-yard field goal. The record at that time was 54 yards. The final score was Chicago 37, New York 21. In a rematch against the Packers, the Chicago defense struggled to contain Dodd Hudson, who caught 8 passes for 96 yards and a touchdown. However, they did force 5 turnovers. The Bears' running game was back on track, rushing for 187 yards in this 14-7 win. Maybe their 6-1 record gave the Bears a false sense of confidence heading into their rematch with the Lions. Even though Chicago outgained Detroit 299 yards to 253, the Lions took advantage of 3 Bears turnovers and secured the win 17-14. In Week 9, the Bears outgained the 7-1 Redskins 300 yards to 169, but only scored 3 points. The 7-3 loss dropped their record to 6-3, just 1 game ahead of the Packers in the Western Division. In Week 10, the Bears expanded their passing game, gaining 295 yards through the air. Dick Plassman caught a 58-yard pass for a touchdown, and Ken Cavanaugh caught a 74-yard pass for another score. The final score was Chicago 47, Rams 25. In the final game of the season, the Bears rushed for 207 yards and avenged their early season loss to the Cardinals with a 31-23 victory. The 8-3 Bears beat the 6-4-1 Packers for the Western Division title, while the 9-2 Redskins beat the 8-3 Brooklyn Dodgers in the Eastern Division. On December 8, 1940, the Bears and Redskins played at Griffith Stadium in Washington, D.C. for the NFL title. The Bears were eager for revenge after Redskins owner George Preston Marshall called them crybabies and quitters. The Bears set the tone early as Bill Osmanski ran for a 68-yard touchdown. It seemed like the Redskins might tie the game on their first drive, but a short touchdown catch was dropped in the end zone. From then on, it was all Bears. The Bears gained 381 yards rushing, while the Redskins managed only 5. It was one big play after another for the Bears. Joe Manacci ran for a 42-yard touchdown, and Ken Cavanaugh caught a 30-yard pass for a score. Hampton Poole scored on a 15-yard interception return, and Ray Nalting added a 23-yard rushing touchdown. George McAfee returned an interception 34 yards for a touchdown, while Clyde Bulldog Turner scored on a 24-yard interception return. In the fourth quarter, Harry Clark ran 44 yards for a touchdown, making the score 60-0. The Redskins turned over the ball 9 times and lost in embarrassing fashion, 73-0. This game remains the most lopsided victory in NFL history. After the game, a reporter asked Redskins quarterback Sammy Baugh if the outcome would have been different if the drop touchdown pass had been caught. Baugh responded, "Sure, the score would have been 73-7. The Bears started strong in their first game of the 1941 season when Ken Cavanaugh scored on a 63-yard reception. The team's powerful running attack gained 258 yards, while their defense limited the Packers to 56 yards rushing and forced 6 turnovers. The final score was Chicago 25, Green Bay 17. With the game tied at 7 in the second quarter, George McAfee returned a kickoff for a 97-yard touchdown. Next came a 48-yard touchdown reception by Ken Cavanaugh. By halftime, the Bears were ahead 35-7. John Siegel finished the scoring with a 65-yard touchdown reception from Sid Luckman. The final score was Chicago 48, Rams 21. The Bears' offense exploded for 613 yards in a Week 3 game against the Cardinals. In the first quarter, George McAfee scored a touchdown on a 59-yard run. In the second quarter, Bronko Nagurski scored on a 40-yard reception. Ken Cavanaugh followed that up with a 38-yard touchdown reception to give the Bears a 33-0 lead. John Siegel continued the scoring spree in the third quarter with a 45-yard touchdown reception. George McAfee increased the score to 47-0 with a 74-yard punt return. Bob Swisher capped off the scoring with a 53-yard touchdown reception to give the Bears a 53-7 victory. In a game against the Lions in Week 4, the Bears were ahead 21-0 in the second quarter when Ray McLean returned a punt 61 yards for a touchdown. The Lions were never serious contenders, gaining only 108 yards in total and turning the ball over 5 times. Chicago won easily, 49-0. The Bears' explosive offense dominated the Steelers in Week 5. In the first half, George McAfee ran for a 33-yard touchdown, and Ken Cavanaugh caught a 45-yard touchdown pass from Sid Luckman. In the second half, Hampton Poole scored on a 56-yard reception. The Bears' defense held Pittsburgh to 117 yards and forced 4 turnovers. The final score was Chicago 34, Pittsburgh 7. In their last 3 games, the Bears outscored opponents 136-14. They were likely due for a setback, which they experienced against the Green Bay Packers. The Packers' offense limited the Bears' powerful running game to just 60 yards, leading to a 16-14 victory. That will conclude the podcast for this week. Join me again next week. We'll have part 2, and we'll pick up the 1941 season. We'll see how the Bears did for the rest of that season, and we'll continue with Week 7. next week. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and God bless.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com. Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.